Welcome to another Track Alerts Live. And as you would have seen by now, tonight is Fast Lane Caribbean. So Fast Lane Caribbean is your go-to show for everything track and field in the region. And that's the Caribbean region, of course. From Jamaica, Bahamas, St. Lucia, British Virgin Islands, US Virgin Islands, Antigua, Bahamas, as I said, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, you name it. And of course, here we will do your previews, your race reviews, your breaking news, your standout performances. We cover all the action, all the happening across the Caribbean. That's what we're here to do. We'll join our colleagues from across the Caribbean. They will be joining us. And of course, we have two special guests tonight with us. And I am going to introduce our two special guests tonight. We have Terry Finister of St. Lucia, and we have Dean Greenaway from, I want to say, British Virgin Islands and US Virgin Islands.
Good evening,
Welcome,
Terry.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening.
How
Good
are
to
you,
meet you. Good
man?
to be with you guys again.
How you
Yep.
doing, Terry?
I'm good, man. I told Anthony once I get a chance to line with the Prime Minister, Premier, and Governor of BVI, I never miss the opportunity. So,
Oh
Anthony,
man.
we miss you at Carifta, man.
Yes, man. And definitely, I'm going to make sure that next year is going to be track and field for me. The
Mm.
last 2 years, I wasn't able to step out and show up. I missed the Budapest World Championships. I missed the Olympic Games in Paris. And I probably have missed now about 3 or 4, maybe about 4 character games. I haven't been there in a while. I hope to be in Grenada next year,
Hey,
as
that's the
we know.
Spice Isle.
Looking
Exactly.
forward to having you in Greens, man.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said before, this show, we're going to discuss Caribbean track and field. From Jamaica to British Virgin Islands, St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago, Bahamas, Grenada, you name it. It's all about track and field. And we can't start without asking Terry, what we have seen over the last week and a half. We would have seen Julian Alfred, opening up, running her first 100. I think it was what, about a week and a half ago?
No, man.
No,
For 5 days.
yesterday, 5 days
5 days.
ago.
5 days. Yeah, man.
Yes. She also has the world lead, right, in the 200.
No, the world lead in the 200,
Mhm.
21.88, which came way back in what, April. It was, I think, at the end of April. Really ridiculous early time for her. To be running that fast that early
Mhm.
is really telling as to the speed endurance that she's been working on throughout the past few months prior to that. The running,
Mhm.
she ran another 100, 300, 300, 300s and 400s indoors and out. Set a couple of national records there along the way. Indoor 400 national record, the indoor 300 national, the outdoor 300 national record. And then she opened up with a 21.88, which
Mhm. Mhm.
is I mean, at that stage of the season, 21.88 is something. So I think most people had been looking forward to what she would produce in
Mhm.
the 100, and produce she did. So I mean, running Oslo last week, she ran 10.89, and then she came back a couple of days later running 10.75 in Stockholm. And she said afterwards that she wasn't thrilled with her execution in the first meet, in the Oslo meet. And then she spoke with her coach, tried to settle her a bit, and they had a conversation. And she came back and was able to execute. And I mean, everybody is talking about how easy it looked because she eased up. I mean, it was what, few a few meters before the line, she just realized, hey, I'm here by myself, and she just eased up. And I think really the world lead, which is 10.73 by Melissa Jefferson Wooden, and obviously it's an international record 10.72. That could have been a top six time all time, top six, top seven time all time, if she had just gone through the line. So running that time in June when she has the World Championships all the way down in September. Jefferson Wooden obviously in great shape. Um, ran at Grand Slam. Grand Slam didn't have their last meet in LA, but for what we're seeing from Julian Alfred is really ominous. And I think it tells a lot about what her preparation is like going into September.
Yeah, and I must ask you this: what is the vibes like? Last year, of course, she created history.
Mm,
What has it been like since that in Saint Lucia? And of course, she's a national hero. You know,
yeah.
we would have seen where she received several awards, several honors from the country. How are youngsters looking up to her? How are they? Do you find more people, youngsters, running track and field or want to run track and field this year compared to
I don't
in
know
the
about
past?
more people running, but I think the excitement is definitely there. The feeling is definitely there. You obviously have um, Julian, Olympic champion in the 100 meters, Olympic silver medalist in the 200. And then you have Naomi London, who's doing really well at the Texas. Hasn't been able to run internationally this year, unfortunately, but she has put down an 11.23 and an 11.09 windy this year. And um, those times both running and in a St. Lucian uniform, but not, in international competition. And she's only 17 years old this year, turning 18 this year. So she has a year left at
Mhm.
Carista next year. So anticipation is high that hopefully she is able to get it back in a Solution national uniform next year. You also have JD Emmanuel, double Carista gold medalist in the 100 and the 200, running 11.50 at 15 going on 16 this year. So, I mean, the vibe is definitely there. The excitement is there. And we're looking forward to being able to build on that. Just yesterday, you had Asia Lawrence qualifying for or running the qualifying standard for the 100-meter hurdles in a meet in Canada, running in, and she ran 12.69, which is way beyond what she had previously been able to do in years gone by. So there's new ground being broken, definitely. I think there's a lot of excitement around the sport, and we're looking forward to seeing how this is all going to build up. September, Tokyo. So far, we're going to have Alfred there for sure. We're going to have Lawrence in there. And we're looking forward to seeing how we can build on that over the next 3 years between the Athletics Association, Olympic Committee, the ministries, the government, and the person, especially of the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, and take it from where it is, which is already, of course, historic,
Mhm.
as you say, and be able to do even more. Get a bigger team to the Olympics, get more qualifiers, and see how we can get more people up on that medal roster.
Mhm. Dean, how are things in the British Virgin Islands? British Virgin Islands and the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Yeah, start being focused.
Yeah, he's you know, Dean is very close to both. You know, he would remind me several times that when he's at Carifta Games and these championships, you know, it's double work
Is the
for
good
him.
man working? Yeah, is the good man working a double shift?
Yeah, double shift. I mean, how is things
Well,
this year?
I guess the latest from the Virgin Islands we would start at the NCAA Championships,
Hmm.
where Michelle Smith from the U.S. Virgin Islands, who won Carifta earlier this year, she was third running for the
Hmm.
University of Georgia in the 400-meter hurdles, and Kaylia Liebert from Florida State running for the BVI. She was eighth in the 400 meters. Now, for her, remarkably, she has come into her own this year. Over her last seven races, she has run under all of them under 52, including 51.69 this weekend out in the finals of the NCAA, and then she ran 51.31 at the East Regional to advance to the NCAA. Jaleel Kroll, I was supposed to interview him before we got on here, but he's preparing to come home tomorrow. He ran 1995. I think that after running 1995, he came back, he ran 2058. He didn't advance, and he ran 1008, and he ran with the University of Central Florida team. And so he was in the 4x1, the 100, and 200. So starting with those two athletes, that's where we are now. I haven't seen Recoy's competitions so far this year. He was at Paris, and let's see, Kyron McMaster started competing. I haven't seen much of him. We have some other youngsters that are coming up. We had a guy that was in the finals of the 1 year bell. He was in the finals of the junior college 200 meters. I think he finished fifth or sixth running from lane one. And I mean, when you have a man that's about 6'6" running from lane one, that's a disadvantage for him. But our junior program is coming. We are seeing a few athletes coming through. So just like Terry, we're waiting for the big one.
Waiting for the big one
No,
indeed.
no, we want to catch
And
Terry. We want to catch Terry with the
uh,
big one.
and of course, you all know that Jamaica would have hosted the Racers Grand Prix, I think 2 weekends ago. And a lot of people asking that, what is happening with these meets now? You have persons saying it may just be a preview of what is to be expected at the Jamaica Championships, because you really didn't have any big names outside of Jamaicans. Kishane Thompson won the 100 meters for men. I think he ran 9.8. Oblique Civil was second in that event. A lot of eyes are on those two for this year. A lot of eyes will also be on that Jamaica men's 4x1 team, with the hope that they qualify for the Tokyo 2025 World Championships. When you look at the women's 100 meters where Jamaicans are concerned, a lot of people are saying the big names, Shelley 11.0 in one race, Sharika Jackson 11.0. But then, of course, the new kid on the block for where Jamaica is concerned, Tia Clayton, a two-time World Junior Under 20 champion, or two-time World Junior and World Under 20 gold medalist, because no, she's not the champion anymore. And her sister Tia Clayton, who made it to the Olympic final, they are 10.92 and 10.98. What the Jamaica trials is going to be like in another 2 weeks, it's still to be seen. You touch on NCAAs, where British Virgin Islands athletes are concerned. There, Ral- Ralford Mullins, he won the discus, Jamaican former
True.
Kingston College athlete. He won the discus there with 69.31. Habiba Harris, who many expected, out of St. Elizabeth Technical High School in Jamaica, many expected that she would have won the 100-meter hurdles. Unfortunately, she did not start. And we're seeing Dejanay Oakley out of Clarendon College in Jamaica. She was second, breaking 50 seconds in that 400 meters, which is very, very important. The only Jamaican athlete to break 50 seconds this year. Means that she is right there. She's getting ready, um, along with Nikisha Price, who is the fastest Jamaican quarter miler now. So those are just some of the persons we are expecting to do well at Jamaica Championships this not next weekend, but the 2 weekends from now.
Any
So
surprises?
uh, it,
Any surprises?
you see, a lot of persons are looking on it. People are talking. People are saying, "Hey, maybe Shelley is going to be out of the top three this year because they have the Clayton twins to be 1 and 2, as to where Sharika Jackson will fall, as to who, we see Brianna Williams running I think 11.04 on the weekend. Um, how fast will the twins go? Will one of the big ones, and I said big ones meaning whether Shelly or Sharika, will one of them find themselves out of the top three? It's still a close race, and I think for this year, maybe we're going to see maybe the closest 100-meter for women at the Jamaica Championships. Who will win? I'm not sure. It's still very close. Tia Clayton, of course, is a favorite, but still anyone's race at this point. For the men's, it seems to be Kishane Thompson oblique Seville. I think Akeem I think he won the Diamond League the last time, and because he won the Diamond League, I think in Eugene, right? I think he won the Diamond League
Fontaine.
final, Prefontaine, yeah.
Fontaine
Yeah.
Classic. Mhm.
Yeah, and I think him winning the Diamond League final would get a bye into the World Championships, which means Jamaica and the US will have 4 athletes
Four.
each. Mhm.
That would have been that's Brussels. That would have been Brussels. That
Brussels,
the finals, yeah, the
yeah,
final last
yeah,
Brussels.
Brussels. But all in all,
But you miss out an interesting name in the 100 and 200. I heard this afternoon. Cubby Taylor, man.
Kobe Taylor,
They say
Kobe,
Cubby is coming down to the 1 and 2, man.
Kobe said he's not sure which one of the event he will run yet. If he run I know he said he's going to choose between the 4 and the 2. He isn't sure which one he's going to run yet. So let's wait and see.
Uh,
But Dean, Barbados Grand Prix, we see this event, and before we go on to that, let us just get some of the comment on the screen. And Jessica is saying, if you look at Juju's demeanor after the race, or after she ran 10.75 compared to that of Jefferson's after her 10.73, it tells you who win if Worlds was this weekend. And basically, we spoke about that earlier, Terry, before we came on here, that
yeah, man.
that Juju basically she shut it off. Maybe what 5
Mhm.
meters to go, she just shut
Yeah,
it
man.
off
Yeah.
and just ease across the line. And
But but we get the rematch of Tokyo at
mhm,
Prefontaine from what we're hearing. So yesterday, Alfred said that she is going to be running at Prefontaine.
mhm,
Jefferson wouldn't is a Nike athlete. She's confirmed for Prefontaine. Richardson, although she looked hobbled in her first race of the season,
mhm, yeah,
she has said that she will be at Prefontaine. So that's your top three
mhm.
at Paris 2024.
But
So,
before I go on to any more comment, Terry, we all know Noah Lyles, we haven't seen him yet. But he had run a 400, which was a
yeah,
warm up, but
Mhm.
he didn't run at the Adidas street meet. Um, Shakari Richardson, one race, never looked good any at all, just never looked good. She was 11.4. These athletes would have already qualified as long as they turn up at the US trials, even if they do the shot put or the discus, they would have
Yeah.
already booked their ticket to go and defend their title in Tokyo. My question is it because of that these athletes are able to say, hey, we are not facing that qualification test? And because we're not facing that qualification test and Worlds is all the way in what,
September.
September,
Mhm.
September.
we don't have to show up too early. So my question is, Juju would have also qualified because
Yeah,
of her
Olympic champion.
country and her small country, and
Mm.
St. Lucia won't have a trials. Do you believe that it's because of this why Shakari and say Noah Lyles are in the position that they're in now? And is it a good or a bad position to be in?
Well,
What?
they both sustained injuries through the season. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what, nobody has said specifically what Shakari's injury is. She's got her thigh, she had her, not her thigh, her lower leg, the calf, wrapped up at that meet. And then Lyles pulled out of a subsequent meet, again, citing injury. So we don't know exactly what's going on. But in a long season, you have to be concerned about form going into the meet because track and field is unforgiving. You have to
Yep.
execute.
Mm-hmm.
100 meters must 100 meters, 200 meters. If you don't go through your progression crisply, that is it for you, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to be race ready.
Mm-hmm.
So the taking a long layoff and being out of competition, I mean, the things are still a long way away. We've
But
seen people.
at some point they need races.
Mm-hmm.
You,
At some point they need to have races because you ain't gonna perform against somebody who is out there. You have to really measure yourself, you know. But to the question you were asking, uh, we've seen similar in past years with other athletes who had the bye to Worlds
Mm-hmm.
that they did not really perform early and then try to come on late. Some
Mm-hmm.
have been successful, but others haven't.
Mm-hmm.
So, all of this is a matter of things with timing,
Mm-hmm.
preparation, and of course the usual cat and mouse games.
Mhm. So, in other words, then you don't think a Jefferson or a Benarek, Kung Fu Kenny, or a Julian Alfred is peaking too early?
Not necessarily. When I look across at what's going on, remember at some point, and I see somebody they're asking when is St. Lucia trials, but they probably missed that St. Lucia doesn't have a trials because most of our small countries don't have trials. But I think they at some point they are going to be while the trials are going on in the different countries, there are no competition, nothing in Europe they can get into. They will be regrouping to prepare for their final preparation for Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas my concern now would be a lot of the athletes in college who have run fast times and the college season just ended and not having or not, they're going to need to get into some kind of other races
Mm-hmm.
to help keep them sharp because between now and September is a long gap. So July, August, they need to have some races in August for them.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
let me
that's
and let me
Panam.
just let,
Go
let me
on.
ju- let me just run through some of these comments. August is saying Shelly needs more races, but the women's side is very competitive in Jamaica, and we spoke about that. Shelly and Fraser Price don't have that luxury of a Shakari, who is the defending champion, a Julian
Hmm.
Alfred, who don't have a trials, and are yeah, are those two. Shelley is basically when it comes down to the 100 is in the same position as Sherika Jackson. Sherika Jackson is the defending
Hmm.
world champion over 200. So yes, Sherika, they need more races. Jamaica Trials is coming up at the end of this month. Hearts will be broken at trials next week. The 100-meter race
It's
is
not as
not
close as
as close as you think.
but that's why I was asking about the
Mhm.
surprises because there could be somebody popping out the woodwork.
Somebody called me, and somebody was saying, MVP always have some surprises, and you know, it may be, you know, people saying slowly will be there. People are saying it's going to be MVP 1, 2, 3. And if slowly is going to be there, you have the two twin, you also have Sherika, they're all at MVP. What can we expect? And as usual, we welcome your comment. Drop your comment in the comment section below. We'll read as much as possible those comments. And August is saying again, but there are more relay events at World Champs this year. So more athletes will be chosen.
but when what do you know of Jamaica having when is their next opportunity for the relay to
So
seek to qualify the
so
men
based on information
Barbados
or news coming
Grand
out
Prix.
of Barbados, yes, that there will
Yeah.
be
or the Barbados Grand Prix?
Barbados Grand Prix.
Okay,
Barbados Grand Prix. What do you know about the Barbados Grand Prix? I saw it the other day on
that's
on
all
on
I
the
know about it.
yeah, on their
I don't know what
page.
Terry knows. You know
Well,
anything about
I've
it,
had
Terry?
some conversation with them, and I mean it's a fledgling event. I don't want to start sounding like Grand Slam, but it's
Mhm.
a fledgling event. They're starting for the first player. They've got some good support. They've got some good people behind them. It's Lord, I can't remember his name. Aaron Spencer. Aaron Spencer, I believe, is the young man's name. A former track athlete. He's working with a solid team that includes a couple of media colleagues of ours. And basically, they want to showcase. They wanted to showcase first of all the best of Barbados. So it's a team concept, similar to what I think is the Atlas is going to be doing when they get their second season up, the second event up. So it's going to be like a team concept, and you have X amount of events. So you will have maybe your hurdles. I know that they have hurdles, men and women, 100, 200, 400, and then you have relays as well. So it's going to be a team thing where you get points for your team. They've invited a number of athletes from around the region. So it's not going to be all Barbados, but it's going to be hopefully the best of Barbados, along with some of the best from around the region, including, of course, the Jamaica 4x1 team.
And of course, I heard my understanding based on information that I saw. Of course, the track event will be the 100, 200, 400, 800, 100-meter hurdles and the 110-meter hurdles. In the field, you'll have the long jump for men and women and the shot put for men. And the relays will be the 4x4 mixed relay mix, and then there'll also be a mixed shuttle relay. And of course, we heard the Jamaica team is going there, so there has to be a 4x1. Some of the athletes confirmed so far for the Barbados Grand Prix, which Terry explained is going to be a team event. Athletes will be selected to represent a particular team. Jonathan Jones of Barbados, Michelle Liai, Joella Lloyd of Antigua, Akeelia Jones, and it's really nice to see
Yes,
Akeelia Jones coming back,
turning. Yes.
and Howell of Cayman Islands, and the Fredericks twin of Trinidad and Tobago, Niles of Barbados, Niles is at UTEC in Jamaica, Mario Burke. I haven't heard
In a
haven't
while.
heard or seen his name in a while, but
He's actually based in Jamaica.
okay, there you go.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
think as of January of this year or December of last year, he started training with MVP, I believe.
So what is happening here is that, and I kind of like what they're doing, because they're not going for the big names, and the big names doesn't work all the time, and I mean it's very expensive to get the big names. So showcase
Yes.
your Barbados talent, and while showcasing your Barbados talent, invite other athletes from across the Caribbean who would not be able to get into a Grand Prix meet in
Right.
Europe, or a Diamond League meet in Europe, or even the Racers Grand Prix in
But
Jamaica.
it's, I think what happens with across the region, we don't get to see a lot of our athletes compete within the region, and I think that is something that NACAC should look at, so that, I mean, we only seen them on television, but
Yeah.
if we want to go to another island to see some of our regional athletes, we don't have that opportunity because there aren't that many regional meets for that they actually compete in. The meats kind of the meats that been there been drying up. So
Yes.
it would be good if we can be able to see them at different meets across the region.
Yes. And that's what I said. Maybe that is why I think the Caribbean needs a Caribbean track league. I know up to last year we had the up to last year we had the American Track League, and Paul Dial took the American Track League to places like Bermuda. We would love to see a Jamaican track league, and we know it's very expensive to get. It's very expensive to run a track meet, and it's more expensive to stage a track meet anywhere in the Caribbean that you're going to invite or be able to get the big names. And while I'm on that, let me just run through this here a little bit. I am on the Barbados Grand Prix page, and Terry, they have 4 teams, and they have the Panthers, and the Panthers have maybe more than 20 names. or close to 20 names. And Michelle Liai is on that Panthers team, and Sana Fredericks is on that
That, that
team.
sounds
And
that sound like my team already.
yeah, and I don't know, I don't know the twins by name. I must tell you, I really don't know them by name like that. Chantal Malone is on that team also, and I'm just
So
going
that's
through
Dean's
some of the
team. Yeah,
well-known,
Dean and I. So Dean and I
yeah,
have common cause.
you know, and
The
then
Virgin Islanders there, the Trinidad are there. We all right,
yeah,
Dean.
uh,
Dean Panthers, Dean
Dean
Yes,
Panthers,
definitely.
Panthers winning.
Panthers, go
yeah,
Panthers.
and then they moved, and we moved to the Eagles team, and the Eagles team will have Demar Francis. That team will have Javon Powell. Javon
Mm.
Powell, more than likely, he's going to be there. Maybe a part of that the Jamaican men's 4x1 team
Yep.
is already qualified, so no need to run a team, a 4x4 team there. Maybe they will still do. I don't know. This team also have Akila Jones. That's the Eagles, and then there's the Outlaws. The Outlaws have Howell from the Cayman Islands. It have Lloyd from Antigua
Antigua.
and Barbuda.
Mhm.
And I need to I need to remind myself it's Antigua and Barbuda. And those are, as I said, I'm just going through, and Jonathan Jones is also on this team, and I'm just picking some of the names that I know of. When you see them and you know them. And there's also the final team is the Lions, and the Lions will have Mario Burke, Julian
Mhm.
Julian Ford. It will have um, the other Frederick twin. So
So
they are
late.
not there. Yeah, Sully. They are not on the same team, which is good. So and you spoke about it, Terry, earlier. This is a team concept, and sounds to be a good concept. Athletes will represent, because I know they had the draw. I think it was last Thursday, so more than likely they would have identified captains, and I know they identified coaches for all of these teams, so they would have identified maybe captains too for these teams, and are the coaches maybe were the ones who would have taken part in the draw. And
Julian Ford.
I don't know how they do it, and I think
Mhm.
it's actually Julian Ford. I don't know where I got this thing about Julian Ford, but it's Julian Ford.
Ford.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
The team I think anything with team concept is really good. Having gone to champs this year for the first time, I think people are always asking about
mhm,
Carifta. I said, but Carifta, you don't have that. When you have that team spirit, that team rivalry, that brings a totally different set of energy, a total different set of excitement. So it would be interesting to see how things unfold with what happened in Barbados.
mhm.
But I think you need to address this comment here from senior Christoph about nobody goes to Prefontaine unprepared. Shakari was just rusty in response to what we were saying.
Uh, uh,
And I think they're talking about that 2021 race when she didn't make it to the Olympic because of what happened to her that year, and was beaten badly. Maybe that's the one,
no, I think they're talking about her season opener.
or season
It was,
opener.
yeah,
From
her
Okay.
from the
season
from the
opener. Her
season
season
opener,
opener.
yes.
She wasn't quite there. I mean, like I said, I mean, she came in with an injury. She did not perform the way you know that she can perform. She's a world champion. She's an Olympic medalist. She's an Olympic individual medalist. NCAA champion. The
Mhm.
junior record holder. So I mean, she's not an incapable athlete, despite the fact that she's a lightning rod. People will talk about her, good or bad. But she is absolutely a capable athlete. She's not somebody that you want to not watch. So
Exactly.
and if she turns up at pre and lines up at pre, she's not coming to pre just to fulfill sponsorship requirements. She's coming there to run.
And
And that
The,
pre race
the,
is probably going to be the most watched race of the year before Tokyo 2025.
Mhm.
Because when you have MJ going 10.73, you have Spencer, you have, Albert, Alfred going 10.75 in a stroll, and you have Shakari Richardson. And questions about Shakari Richardson, I think, it's even more ominous than probably if she had run a time. If
Mhm.
she had run a
But
time and you know what she's
listen,
coming in there with,
listen.
you know what gonna happen. But
Remember
if the fact that she's
but the US
unbeaten,
trials coming up shortly as well. So
true, true,
she got to
she had to
start
run. Yeah, she
showing
had to do it
something.
late.
Yeah.
She
Well,
had to do it late.
again, who knows? She might just run the 200 at the US trials, and the US trials is towards the end of July. Many people wanted the Jamaica trials to move closer to the end of July or within the same weekend as the thing
US.
as the US trials. But as you
Given
said
that she's
before,
good, I would be
mhm,
interested to see if she doesn't pack around the 200 at all. Because coming off an injury, unless she's doing a ton of work in the lab there, I mean, it would be interesting to see if she
or she
runs 200 at all.
or she may just run the heats at the 100 and call it a
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah.
She
Hmm.
has to run something, whatever
Hmm.
it
She
is.
has to show up.
But I
She has
And
to
think
show up. She could do short put.
let's look at the commentary. I mean, a comment, the one that where we were talking about the meat and the big name, and August is saying, Grenada made Grenada Invitational. I think over
Mhm.
they made the mistake of going after big names, which resulted in many empty lanes. And I think that the Barbados, let's see how the Barbados concept play out, because it might be something that can attract a greater interest, and we start seeing
hmm
more something like around the region like that. So let's see how that one goes, and then we'd go from there.
hmm
I've been I've been covering remember they used to have this APM meet in
Alia Grand
Martin.
Prix.
Yeah, no, the APM meet. There was a permit
Oh,
meeting
API. Yeah, oh, area permit, right.
way back when in Martinique, and I used to cover this meet, and I talked to Victor Lopez about meets in Puerto Rico. There's fairly high profile meets in
hmm
Puerto Rico. Obviously, a lot happening in Jamaica, races and other high profile meets in Jamaica. And I've always been asked, why can't we as a Caribbean people just look at the calendar and start putting things in place, start calendaring ourselves properly, so that we don't have duplication and we have a nice progression that we provide our athletes with that avenue at home to be able to go. So you start your meets in April, you have your the next series in maybe you have two meets in May, you have two meets in June, you have a meet in July, whatever have you.
Well,
Set things out so
and
we
and,
can
and
yeah, we
and
work.
that note, Terry, I think it's a good time to welcome our friend from the Bahamas, Mr. Kermit Taylor. Welcome, sir.
The
Welcome.
Bishop.
Thank you so much for having me. I must apologize for being late. Had a video recording that lasted longer than I planned.
You're helping the Prime Minister with his speech.
With campaign.
No, we understand, man. We understand.
Oh God, come in.
Gentlemen,
Yes, Kermit. We were here basically talking, of course. We spent a lot of time talking about Julian Alfred at the top of the order, the form she's in, how good she's running. She's going to be looks like she's going to be hard to beat this year. And we were also talking about regional meets when we had that meet in Martinique, and of course in the past, just before COVID, there were several other meets across the Caribbean. And of course, we were also the main discussion really was that someone had said in the comment that a lot of these Caribbean meets spend too much time on getting big names instead of trying to get mostly Caribbean athletes and have like a Caribbean track league circuit and allow more athletes who would not get into meets in Europe or say the
That
Diamond League or the big
opportunity.
Grand Prix, give them that opportunity to run in this Caribbean track league. What do you think about that, Kermit?
um, the reality is no, there are a number of athletes that just don't have the finances to make the transatlantic flight. Um, and then you just can't just fly 9, 10 hours to Europe and then run meet and then turn around and come right back. You know, so a lot of the athletes try to maximize on it. Well, once they're in that end of the world, they try to maximize on uh, and compete in many meets as possible. But that takes money,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah. So I agree that if we can do our part by having as many meets on our end of the world as possible, for those who can, who have the money to travel, for those who just don't, they just can't do it. It
Mm-hmm.
makes a lot of sense. It really does make a lot of sense.
Is that last chance meet we used to have in Bahamas still on, Kermit?
I am not sure. I don't think the gentleman I know him well. He has not done it in a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if it's because of the fact that he's going to discontinue it, or or for whatever reason, um, it has not happened. But as far as I know, it's still an event
Mm-hmm.
uh, that 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 he does, and he just may have taken a break for a minute.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
NACAC is in Bahamas, right?
Say it again.
The NACAC meet is in Bahamas.
Yes, the NACAC Championships will be in the Bahamas.
And I understand it will be in Freeport and not Nassau.
No, I thought it was in
Yes, it'll be
Nassau.
in NASA.
In Freeport.
Now let me try. Now, if I was to turn my camera landscape, would that work, or should I leave it? And
Um, you could try, because
I'm,
we're still
I'm being
seeing you.
cropped. It looks like I'm being cropped.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Is that better?
yeah. That's better. And take it down
Okay.
a little bit now, so we see more of your head, so we don't lose your head.
Okay. Hold on. I'm not seeing me for some reason on this. Why am I? I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, we're not seeing the top of your head, man.
Okay, hold on.
So you
Uh,
may just need to tilt it. Tilt.
yeah,
Yeah. So
got it.
I I was on a program, Dean. I was on a program late last week. I think it was last week, Thursday, and President Archer was also on the program, and I made mention that the meet will be in Nassau, and President Archer said it's now shifted to Freeport, and he spoke about that just Thursday. So it was first advertised for Nassau, and he told us just Thursday that the meet will be in Freeport again, as it was I think it was in 2022.
How is the support in Freeport?
It I was there for the meet in 2022, and the support was fairly good. It was a very small stadium, uh, but you would assume maybe, and Kermit could speak more on this, that they probably would have gotten more support if it was in Nassau. Unfortunately, I heard that there's still some repair work going on at the Thomas A. Robinson Stadium in Nassau,
I can't.
and
Okay, I
and
couldn't
and
seem to
and,
get
and
you.
maybe that's why, you know. I don't know what happened, Kermit, but when you had it the other way, we were senior.
Okay,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
can't.
You
yeah. We
cleared
senior.
it.
Yeah, we're senior now, man.
But I can't. The challenge I'm having is that I'm only saying you and Terry. I'm not saying the Great Dane.
Yeah,
On my
they
For some reason
cut off.
anyway, I'm unfamiliar with this app for the that
It's,
that you that
it's the
that you have
reverse
me
for
on.
me. I'm seeing you and Dean, and I'm not seeing myself and Gumit.
I'm seeing everybody.
So let's hope that all the viewers on this class are seeing all of us.
I was asking about the support in Freeport for the NACAC championships as opposed to Thomas Robinson in Nassau.
Okay, Nassau would obviously be better. Nassau, the national stadium is under major renovations right now, and they're about halfway through that renovations. But all the seats are out, so we're waiting to have the seats installed. The original stadium, where we pretty much use as our practice track, that once we get through with the national stadium, I think they plan to put a lot of emphasis on that stadium. So really and truly, both stadium needs some work done.
And
All right. So
when you say put a lot of work on that stadium, that's a warm up stadium, Kermit.
right, Warm Stadium.
Are they going to relay the track? They're going to put in some seats or stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, because I think I don't know the extent of the work that's going to happen there.
Mhm.
But yeah, but a lot of work needs to happen there, and I think they may have made the decision to go to Freeport because Freeport would have probably been a more suitable stadium than the original Thomas A. Robinson Stadium.
And Jamaica was
And
told
they could
was.
always, and if seats are needed, they could always bring in portable seats,
Mhm.
bleachers
Yeah.
if needed.
Jamaica was supposed to host or was approached. I was in discussion, I don't know, to host the NACAC Senior Championships, and it fell through. And Bahamas again had to come to the rescue.
Mm.
We always do. That's just us.
It's
Maybe
better in the Bahamas, huh?
more money too, more money
No,
too.
no, trust me. It ain't so much the money, but we have a history of making it happen.
The Jamaicans will tell you, Dean, that in the Bahamas to the US it's 1 to 1. In Jamaica, it's maybe about 160 Jamaican dollars to the US dollars. So
But
stronger.
Saint Lucia has an outstanding stadium. The Saint Lucia is always a possibility, and our good friend, as far as I know,
Have
mix and mingle with some of the most highest diplomats and government officials
Mhm.
in Saint Lucia. Terry.
But but
yeah.
but
Well,
but but
I,
speaking up, go ahead,
mhm.
Terry. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah. So the plan is to and I say the plan, but this is keep in mind this is uh, 16 years now. The plan is to hopefully have the hospital. I don't want to speak out of turn, but hopefully the hospital will be completed this year. Things are pointing that way, certainly. I obviously the current government does not want to go into another election cycle with that incomplete. We've gone through uh, 4 prime ministers. We've gone through 4 prime ministers since the fire at St. Jude in 2009. Uh, the funds for the restoration of the stadium have already been secured, or some of the funds, I shouldn't say the funds. Some of the funds for the stadium have already been secured from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We know the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is a very friendly government globally. They've been doing a lot around the world. One of the things, so they've contributed to the hospital, and they have set aside some money for the stadium as well.
Awesome.
So would say that by all things being equal, by the end of 2026, we should see some progress on the restoration of that stadium.
Mhm. I think we're going through the same thing in Jamaica also. Some money, I understand, would have been committed by the British government. So there should be major rehabilitation work on the National Stadium in Kingston. I think starting as early as next year, they want to get it up to maybe about 30,000. They want to cover the entire stadium instead of having one side of the stadium being covered. And you would have seen where the track was recently relayed. Maybe just about half of that money was paid by Grand Slam track.
Yeah.
So there seems to be some work going on. And of course, as Kermit would have said earlier, it would be so nice to take the NACAC Senior Championships a little bit more around the Caribbean. Bahamas now, I think this going to be the second year or third year, Kermit, or third
Probably
time.
third.
Uh, we
Probably
we we have held many. I think this is like the third probably NACAC event
third.
that we've hosted.
Yeah. So a NACAC Senior Championships, again, would be nice to have in Grenada or St. Lucia. The last time I was, well, the last and only time I was in St. Lucia, I think was all the way back in when they hosted Carifta.
Oh,
Um,
so we need to get that stadium up. If
was it
only to have you back, boss.
was it 2007?
2009.
2009.
Nine. Okay,
2009.
that's
And,
Berlin.
and hopefully we
Here,
won't have you
Berlin.
driving as much this time around.
Ooh, boy,
Oh.
cause man, going over those mountains, and the drivers was asking was like they were Daytona drivers.
but and track and field in the Caribbean. We had seen people would have said the Usain Bolt era, along with Shelley and Fraser Price at that time. Are we are we losing it? Are we have we lost it, but we are getting back there, or we're still struggling to find our way back there? Yes, we have the Olympic champion in the 100. We have the world champion in the 200, Sherika Jackson. You know, we do have some people. We have Kishane Thompson, who just missed the Olympic medal in the 100. We have Shani Miller Weber, of course. She has not retired. We have from Barbados, Bahamas, Stephen Gardner, who won the Olympic gold, who won World Championship gold, you know, is going through a phase now where he's just trying to regain fitness. You know, he would have been into World Championships and Olympics after those victory and wasn't able to finish. Where are we in terms of getting back to the days when the Caribbean? Well, let me not forget that um, the triple jump Olympic champion is also from La Fun, is also from the Caribbean. She's from Dominica. But she too is not having the best a year. But again, we spoke about it. Is it safe to say
She's coming off injury, you know,
yes, yes?
surgery rather.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
she had serious surgery last year, right
Yes,
after Olympics.
And she
right.
still have time because she don't have that qualification
Hmm.
system in Dominica to be worried about.
Yeah, but the event last year was an exceptional. They're not taking anything at all away from Taylor Font. Tremendous athlete, wonderful young lady. But last year was her year to
Hmm.
strike, and she struck and got it done. That event is getting back to what it had been in years prior in terms of the strength and depth of that event. And she will have to make, in order for her to be competitive against the ladies who are out there, she will have to make another step up. She's really stepped up over the last couple of years. She's done tremendously well, but she will have to improve even further in order to be competitive against the very best triple jumpers out there.
And as I said, I want to ask the question again because Jamaica performed very, very miserably, very, very bad at the world relays.
I think Jamaica has overstated the
The-
depths of the misery.
yes,
You
and
have, you have Roger Stone, and Roger Stone had a fantastic meet. For me, Roger Stoner, and I mean, I have a bias, obviously, I'm a
mhm,
throw coach, but Roger Stoner was one of the stars, the genuine stars of the Olympics.
mhm,
For Roger Stoner to go out there and perform like he did, especially given that
mhm,
his event is not an event that has that kind of focus on it, that everybody is pouring resources and having meets and
mhm,
doing camps and doing all this kind of stuff to try and get people up there. And it's not, I mean, it is becoming increasingly competitive. You have, like you said, Mullings, you have Michael and all these guys out there who've done well in the event. But um, he was one of the stars of Paris 2024.
yeah,
And he's somebody that you have to look forward to, along with Mullings
yeah,
for for
but having
Tokyo.
said that, where I want to get Jamaica performances at the world relay bad.
Yeah, that one
Bahamas,
we can agree on.
yeah, Bahamas didn't send a team. Trinidad and Tobago didn't send a team. And these are the three leaders. So
Mm,
yes, Jamaica sent all the teams possible, but we didn't do well. Bahamas didn't have a team to send. Trinidad and Tobago didn't have a team to send. Are we supposed to be worried where we are as as a region on, in the sport of track and field.
But
Kermit.
Terry, what you were
Yeah.
saying there, I mean, we also have to look at the fact that there are some changes in the World Athletics program. World Championships now is going to be the last meet of the season instead of the
Yeah.
Diamond League
Diamond League,
meets.
yeah.
The World Relays was a bit earlier than it usually would be. And persons, the preparation of teams, some people have their people in college, couldn't get them released. All of these are factors that we have to look at when
Mhm.
you're looking at the things with the relays. Yes, the expectation might have been so and so, but we have to look at all the other factors that would lead into the results that we have seen with what happened with Jamaica, what happened with Trinidad and Bahamas not having teams. So, and then World Championship, Olympics was fairly late last year. So there are a lot of factors into where people are, the preparation, the focus, the mindset, all of that to
Mhm.
take into
And
consideration.
Kermit, the Bahamas will be hosting the World Relays again. And as I mentioned before, based on what happened at the last World Relays, where the Bahamas and Trinidad and Tobago didn't have a team, what it is like there on the ground? What are the stakeholders, the lovers of track and field? What are they saying? Were they unhappy that Bahamas weren't able to send a team?
But it's always disappointing that we could not send a team. Like Dean just mentioned a minute ago, our challenge also is that one, we're a very small country, so our pool is not as deep as a Jamaica, who has a population of millions or
No,
one point
three
some million.
3 million, or roughly 3 million.
Okay, the Bahamas population is somewhere shy of 400,000,
Mm-hmm.
right? So our pool is not that deep, and we, even though we may have some athletes that could have competed in World Relays, like Dean said, a lot of them are in university and could not get released for the relays. So it put us in a spot.
Mm-hmm.
I the Bahamas love hosting the World Relays, so I'm sure the enthusiasm, and my ear has not been to the ground everywhere, but I can only assume that we will be ready for the World Relays, and I know that once it's here, the Bahamas will turn out in support
Mm-hmm.
of the
Mm-hmm.
in terms of watching the relays.
As always, as always. How important do you think, and again, we're all from the Caribbean, we're discussing Caribbean track and field, Terry, how is important, how important is it when these big events comes to the Caribbean?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the numbers really. I mean, and that's why track and field is such a beautiful sport for us. Um, Usain Bolt stood head and shoulders above everybody else. Jamaica was very fortunate to have had uh, a group of ladies following one another in sequence. You had your BCB, you had your Fraser Price, of course, you had Elaine coming through as well. A little bit of a gap. These things happen in cycles. So you have Tia and Tina Clayton coming up. You have Brianna had not had the best couple of years. He's perhaps starting to come into our own, running some faster times. So I think we need to get it right. That's one. We've seen the issues with relays in the recent past with all of our territories, and certainly Jamaicans have been more higher profile just because they are Jamaica. So you've seen some of the issues that Jamaica has had as far as the relays are concerned on the global stage. But I think that this is an area that we have to focus on. You have to look at getting strength in depth. You have to look at those programs and see how you can build those programs to try to get those athletes who may not necessarily be incapable, but not necessarily just ascending to the highest level. You want them to be able to get that championship experience. So you want to get the lesser, the greener athletes to be able to compete in relays on the international scene, at the world relays, at the world championships, at even the Olympics. You want to be able to get those. You remember Javon Francis coming in as a schoolboy and anchoring Jamaica to glory. So, there are those kind of stories that come through, and those are necessary stories, I think, for us to be able to build those athletes up and to be able to build up our strength in depth. Because again, track and field is such a fickle sport. You want to be there, you want to be able to get it right, but you also can have it all taken away from you. You can lose an entire season or seasons through the slightest of things. So you have to be able to do the planning and do the planning to be able to have that resilience and be able to have that deep pool of athletes that you can call on to be able to compete at those events.
Mhm.
But they are important. They are absolutely important, and the relays, I think, specifically are important.
Hmm. And we are getting closer and closer. We're just on about on time to finish our program. But just let me run through some of these comments. The twins and slowly, and this is prediction for the Jamaica trials. We're getting in the comment section. Guys, two ladies from MVP will make the team. Shelly or Sharika will miss that flight to Tokyo. Maybe if one of these persons finish fourth or fifth, they may also get on the relay team. Also, that's also to be taken into consideration. I believe there will be a 4x1 relay in one of the diamond leagues. That's also something that we're hearing. Vincent is saying that there will be a 4x1 relay race for men at the Diamond League, which is following up on the same comment we had earlier. And August is saying again, talking about the Grenada Invitational, make the big mistake. I think Dean would have gone through this comment already. I see Tia and Artina going 10-6 this season. Very, very fast time. That 10-6 would be good if any one of them can get there. As a matter of fact, if any athlete get into that 10-6 mark this year, that would be some fast time. The interesting thing about Julian is that now having run 3-10-7 races in the past 12 months, her body accustomed to 10-7. She's ready to go 10-6.
Very
And
important point. That's a good point. Good
yeah,
observation.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
somebody is saying now Pan Am Juniors has been rescheduled to October instead of August. Man, that's
Which was
crazy.
the under 23?
That's crazy.
Panam, that's under 20.
That's crazy.
Pan Am Junior Track and Field.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
because I mean, for the Caribbean, that is a lot
Yeah,
of artists will be
Mhm.
back in school
it,
and
it
all
Yeah,
make
of
yeah,
make
that.
yeah. That's 90% of
yeah
our athletes are going to be
Yeah,
unavailable for that one.
yeah. It
so
makes me wonder
that's
if yeah,
awesome.
we'll even be represented.
Yep.
Yes.
Gentlemen, it's that time of the night. As I said, we try to keep our show to 1 hour and 1 hour only. I know we have a lot to talk about, but we're trying to do this every Monday night where we can talk Caribbean track and field. Thanks for joining me to talk Caribbean track and field this week. And we will definitely talk again soon. Thanks for all the comments from our viewers. And I hope you'll rejoin us again next week. Same place, same time, when we will be back for Fast Lane Caribbean. And that just came off the top of my head this evening. We're gonna have to think of we're gonna have to think of a better name for this program because it's not just about Fast Lane. It's about the field events too. We spoke about Lafon, who won the Olympic triple jump, and we spoke about Stoner, who won the Olympic discus. So it's not all about fast lane where Julian Alfred is concerned, but about track and field. Thank you, gentlemen. And as I said, we'll do this all over again another Monday night, same time, same place.
A pleasure, brother.
Thank you.
Always good
Thank
to link
you.
Thank
up.
you,
Yeah.
thank you for
All
having
right.
me, and I apologize for being